Hi, I'm Lauren Martinez Catlin. I'm an author and poet, and I'm here to talk about my new book that's coming out. It's called The Other Side of Silence, and it will be available on your Kindle device, on a Kindle app if you have a smartphone, or on Amazon.com. So this is the first book that I've ever written that has sort of incorporated my spirituality into the actual story. My relationship with God is a vital part of my process and one of the biggest parts of my life, but I've never included that element into the stories that I've written. And I think that's mostly because when I've seen Christian faith represented in fiction, it's felt very limiting to me, very sort of boxed in. It seems like there's this one very specific experience that happens in a very specific place and to a very specific type of person. And that's all I'd really seen in Christian fiction. And it's not even like that experience isn't a valid one, it totally is, but it hasn't been my experience. And it doesn't reflect the sort of richness or depth of my relationship with God or what I see other people experiencing with God. I find that God meets me and other people in a great variety of ways and in a great diversity of places. So for a while, I was interning at Intermedia Arts, which is a community arts organization in Uptown. And one of my tasks was to facilitate a GLBT poetry reading. Pretty much all I did was put up the podium and make sure the mic was working. But I stayed to listen to the poetry. And as I listened to these two transgender poets read about their struggles and their triumphs in their lives, I really felt God's presence in the room. And I'm pretty embarrassed to say I was surprised to feel God's presence there in that room. And as I was sort of processing through this, I felt like God was speaking to me and saying, "Don't you know that I love them too?" And it was just such an interesting interaction. It was really surprising to me. Similarly, earlier this year, I spent a week waiting for the results of a biopsy that had been performed on me. And the closer I got to getting the result, the more stressed out and pressed down I felt. And by the evening of the last day, I felt completely flattened. I just happened to be reading Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert at that time, and I thought I might try out some of the practical instructions Gilbert had for meditation in that book. So just sort of following along her experiences, I just gave it a try. And as I did that, I kind of felt this stress sort of start to lift off of me. And it was such a good experience that I decided to meditate for an hour every day during the Lent season of that year, which is the 6 weeks between Ash Wednesday and Easter. And doing that really changed me. It really taught me so much about who God is and how he relates to me. It made me such a much better person. It was phenomenal. I really believe that God used that book at that time because that was the book I happened to be reading at a moment when I really needed him to show up for me. I really believe that God is so big and so powerful that he not only can make each person completely unique from every other person who has ever lived, I believe he can communicate with each one of those people in a way that is more significant and more meaningful for them than it would be for anyone else on the planet. I believe in a God of totality, and a God who cares enough to talk to me in a way I can hear and understand and am likely to respond. So that's kind of the driving motivation behind writing this book. Again, the book is called The Other Side of Silence. It'll be available on Kindle in very soon. And again, you'll find it on your Kindle device, on a Kindle app on your smartphone, or on Amazon.com.